everyone, this is Alice from the Alice Edit. On this channel, we talk about all things makeup and fashion and how to mindfully consume and enjoy those things. Today, we are doing an in-depth review on my Birkin 30, as you can see here. If you have seen my other in-depth review of handbags, you'll know that it's quite long. We'll cover a lot of different things. We'll start with a fake unboxing, so you could get the experience of what it's like to receive this bag from the boutique and open it for the first time, what comes with it, etc. We will also go through some basics and the context of the bag. One note here is that we won't go into the Hermes journey or how I got this bag. I have a separate video that I've done a few years ago on this, so you could take a look at that. I'll link it in the description. And then we'll go over some pros and cons, like wear and tear. I've had this bag for a few years now and I use it a decent amount of time, so I have some information on that. We'll show you what fits inside, how I style it, and what you might want to know, which is like the practicality of owning this bag, or is this all just for show? So with that, let's not waste any more time and jump into the unboxing. Let's unbox this bag. So if you go to Hermes, you'll pretty much always get this orange bag. But for safety, sometimes they put a plain white bag over it so that it's a little bit more discreet. To be honest, it doesn't hide much because the orange kind of peeks through out of the white, but at least it's not bright orange if you're just like walking around and shopping. So I'm not very good at tying ribbons, but did my best. You have your expertly tied ribbon. Then it comes with the box. And this is a box that seems like it's pretty much just for Birkins or bags of the size. Okay, you got some accessories. So you have a rain jacket, 2 rain jackets, which I think you're supposed to put on your bag when it rains, but I don't really do that. And I also don't find the need to do that. The care booklet just tells you to take care of your bag and protect it from weather, especially rain. Doesn't really give you that much else information. Now we have the clochette and key and the bag, the dust bag. The inside has like a pillow, so your handles rest on the pillow. Here is the dust bag, has the drawstrings. And the bag itself, so it does have this like felt piece. The sangles are done up. And the felt piece has these little ears up next to the handles. So this is the bag. And this is the clochette and lock. The key is attached. There's 2 keys. I did separate mine. Usually I just store my bag just like this if I feel like I'm going to use it within the next week. If I am not going to use it for the next week, I will do it up. So close it, add the felt pad, and then put it in the dust bag. And then that just sits in my closet until I feel like using it again. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the unboxing. I'll give you some information on the specs of this bag. So this is a Birkin 30. 30 means that it's 30 centimeters across. So this is probably one of the most common sizes, maybe the most popular as well. The original Birkin, I think, came out as a 35, which is like a giant tote. It's a little bit too big for me. You'll see a little bit more of why when I do mod shots. So I think the Birkin 30 size is pretty good. This is the return maybe construction, where the edges are rolled in, versus another construction that you might see, which is quite rare, is the Cellier construction, which is like a lot more structured. So like it's sewed in so you can see the stitches on the side versus this bag, which is a retorn, you can't. And the leather here is Epsom, which is a printed leather. Printed, I mean like treated, versus something like a Clemence or a Togo, which is a little bit less treated. You see the natural grain. But Epsom, there is a printed grain on top, and it has this like sheen that makes it almost like a little bit more processed, like there's a protective layer on top. As you can see, this is gold hardware. Gold is like, I would say like a true gold, not like a champagne gold. I know there's like some reflection, but here you could kind of see. And the color is Vert de Gris. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but basically it's like a gray green. I would say it's like close to a khaki, maybe a little less warm. So I would say it's like a pretty neutral undertone as far as like a neutral green color goes. The interior of the bag is made out of goat leather, or what Hermes calls chèvre, which is goat leather. So it's in the same color, just different texture. I would say it's a little bit more rough maybe, or a little flat. Some information about the construction of the bag, or some details. As you can see, this is a tote bag. Most people will wear it like this, but it comes with like a flap like this, which you can kind of do up, and it has these little tab things. I think they're called sangles, and that allows you to fully close the bag, and then you can loop it through the hardware. These like little hooks, and there's a turn lock right here, and it has a hole so you could put your key or whatever, like your clochette or a little lock over here. I've seen people wear it like this, but it's not really that common just because it's kind of difficult to get in and out of. For this particular bag, the edges are mostly like rolled in, which means it's not like two pieces stuck together like this. It's like sewn in like this. And then there is some edge painting, which is when leather is like together like this, and then the raw edge is treated and painted over. So this line at the top between that connects the flap, as well as the handles. The handles on the inside are edge painted, so they're sewn together and edge painted. The edges of the flap and the edges of the sangles, they are also edge painted. This particular bag has stitching color to match the leather and the color of the bag. For some other bags, they might do contrast stitching, typically for special orders or custom bags. And I will show you the profile of the bag as well. So as you can see, the sangles are here, and it is kind of like an accordion style design where you could pull the bag open like that. And I've seen some people even like wear this out so much, or like get it really, really loose where the sangles can go out of this, because I guess there's nothing like holding these things in place, but the sangles are connected in the back with these tabs. The handles here, the stitching is the same as the front stitching, same shape, nothing really special to call out there. So looking more closely at the hardware and the logo, so we basically have these two tabs and these like, I guess, hooks for the sangles, and then the turn lock. There's a gold hot stamp, it'll be different to match your hardware, that says Hermes Paris, made in France. And then on the bottom there are 4 feet connected with an extra piece of leather. So the intention is like when you set it down, your bag doesn't really touch the floor. Depending on the bag and the age of the bag, that might not always be the case, but it's nice to know that there's a little bit of extra protection. On the sangles as well, it also says Hermes Paris with like a little logo. I don't know what that is. Yeah, but that's there. The interior of the bag is nothing like really to call out. There is a front slip pocket right here, and then a back zipped pocket right here, so you could unzip it. This pocket goes like, I don't know, 3/5 of the way down. But to be honest, I never use those pockets. When you see what fits, you'll understand why. I purchased this bag in 2021 in July for $11,000. Every year the Birkin prices go up, so I'll put up what the recent prices are. And again, this is from the boutique. Resale is a whole completely different game. So the Birkin fits a 11-pound cat. I'm just joking, guys. Here is the Birkin 30. Inside we have the bag insert. It's made out of linen. It's got pockets and little compartments for your like pens or lipstick. It's also pretty squishy, as you can see here, but holds its shape pretty well. Inside it's got a little bit of space, but overall it is pretty snug. For everyday essentials, we've got a passport or ID, we've got a phone, keys, and a card holder or wallet. We can even do something like a bigger wallet, such as something like that, and then a coin pouch. I already know we're not going to have a problem fitting everything in. We've got plenty of space, as you can see here. If we wanted to add more things like a cosmetic pouch, this is one from Coach, very similar to a mini pochette. I've also got a tissue here, hand sanitizer, and a lippy. These would actually just fit into the cosmetic case, but we've got a lot of space. Let's see how it fits separately. So here I've organized things a little bit, everything on one side and then the passport in the back pocket. And I'm just gonna be able to pop everything in, a cosmetic case, maybe a lippy in the front pocket, and then the other two items just kind of really anywhere in there. Up to you if you want to have a little bit more organization. You could put it in pockets or just loose in the bag. And as you can see, there's still a decent amount of space, and it's even enough for you to close the bag completely, like so. There's really no problem here. We're not overstuffing the bag. We're not seeing any bulging or anything that would compromise the structure. I will say that it's starting to get a little bit of weight. So let's say you're doing some errands and you maybe want to bring a reusable bag, maybe a portable cup. This is just something I have. It has a little sleeve on it for bubble tea, but it fits. And I could use it on the handle. Or if you also want to carry sunglasses, all of those should also be able to fit. Here I've organized things a little bit, just put things on the side, and you could see that it's starting to get a little snug, but it shouldn't be too difficult, and you could pop the sunglasses right on top. With this, the bag is pretty full, and it'll be pretty difficult to close the flap or do it up completely. This means that you basically have the bag open, but that also means you could fit more things like a pair of gloves, maybe a little hand towel or a handkerchief that you want to bring in case you get caught in weather. And those could just go into the side, and then maybe a hat. This does mean that you will have to dig a little bit to reach the stuff on the bottom, but if you have a full day, to me that's not really a problem. Let's say you want to switch some things out. For example, if you want a bigger water bottle, you could very easily do that if you keep the bag open. Or if you want books, you should still be able to fit it with the stuff on top. So here I'm going to make some adjustments. So maybe instead of a giant cosmetic bag, I go for some loose cosmetics instead. With that, the water bottle should be able to fit pretty well. I'm also going to take out my bigger wallet and coin purse since I already have a card holder, so it's a little bit redundant. That makes enough space for a book and a Kindle with some adjustments. As you can see, my Kindle is up in the front. We can then pop in some of these cosmetic things. So a little case, compact, and then a hand cream. You could then pop in your sunglasses case on top and fit all of these other fabric things. So the towel, gloves, and then hat. As you can see, it's filled to the brim. It's got some weight and no bulging yet, but we are not very far off. We're starting to get a little bit of overstuffing here. I don't use this bag for work, but if you want to, and you're not carrying a laptop, I think there is a way to do this. Here I have an iPad that's a 10.5-inch iPad Pro. I also have a A5 size notebook. I use it as a bullet journal, but it could be also for work. I also have a tech pouch here, so it's got my chargers and cords, adapters, or even a mouse, as you can see here. If you want, you can even do like a compact keyboard. This is a Magic Keyboard, just the standard Apple one. For everything to fit, you need to make some adjustments, so I'm just gonna take out the book and also the Kindle. With that, that should be enough space for the iPad to go in. You can see here it fits within the bag insert. It is pretty snug, like edge to edge. And then we could put in the notebook just in front. We also should get rid of some things like the reusable bag and maybe the water bottle. That way the tech pouch can fit with some of the stuff that we already have. For the Magic Keyboard, it slides right at the back outside of the insert. It's pretty full, and I think I could feel the keyboard a little bit. I'm not sure if it's stretching in there or fitting inside. With that, you could just put your sunglasses on top, or if you really want a water bottle. I don't think that really fits in my opinion, but you could try and stretch it. For me, I would probably put some softer things like a pair of gloves, maybe swap that out for a hat depending on the weather. Here I removed the work stuff, and let's say you want to use this as an overnight bag. So here I have a larger cosmetic pouch and then some clothes to simulate what you would bring. I'm going to swap out some cosmetic items since these will probably be in that cosmetic bag. And with that, you should be able to fit the bag in there. And then for the clothes, depending on what kind of clothes you're bringing, you might be able to roll them up. And if you have something bigger, it could maybe like fit on the top. Then you could pop in your sunglasses on the top or on the side. As you can see, it is pretty full, pretty much filled to the brim. I'm getting a tiny bit of bulging, nothing that I think is like stretching out the bag too much since it's mostly soft things. It's also pretty heavy, so you can't really carry the bag with the handles together because it'll stretch out the front piece. Now moving on to the wear and tear of this bag. I've had it since July 2021, so that's now like what, 4 years going on 5 of me owning this bag and using it. I'm not someone who just have bags on display. I think that's great if you have closet space. I live in New York City. My closets are pretty tiny. So I do actually use the bag. So practicality is quite important to me, which also means that there might be more wear to my bags. This bag, I would say, is fairly low maintenance. I do use it, I would say, like a decent amount. It's not my most used bag by any means, but I would say like in the 4-ish years on average, like once every 2 weeks. In reality, it doesn't really look like that. I'll have like maybe a period of a few months where I'm really into it, and this is like the bag I go for. That's not my work bag. And then there are some months where this just kind of sits in the dust bag in the closet. But I would say like on average, it's once every like 2-ish weeks. I personally really like the idea of like a very lived-in bag. But as you can see, it is quite structured and in a very good condition. And I think that is mostly because this is Epsom leather. And there are some things that I do to extend the wear of the bag. So I'll go over those now, and then we could take a look at the bag itself a little bit more closely, and I'll insert some close-up shots. I do use a bag insert. It is a soft kind of bag insert. I think it's just linen with some sort of like fabric padding. This one is from the Mai Tai collection. I'll pop a link. I got this pretty much as soon as I bought the bag, and this just like goes into the bag. I've heard that this helps with structure, and I can't say that I fully agree. I think it's pretty hard to tell, because also if you look at the side of the Birkin, and if the bag insert goes in like this top part needs to be compressed like just a tad bit for you to close the bag. So like I think that was a concern of mine when I was looking at bag inserts, because I was afraid that if this was too structured, then you would get a line when you store it like this over time. I can't really tell, to be honest, and I can't say that with other bag inserts that will be the case. What it does do is preserve the interior. So I do carry a lot with me. Just looking at this bag insert, I don't really see any stains, but I do see a lot of dust. I regularly put lip balm, hand cream, sometimes even a travel mug in here. So the risk of spillage or staining is not low, at least for me and how I use the bag. Another thing I do, especially if there is a chance of rain, is carry a little towel. So these are like those handkerchief towels. So if it's raining and you're out and about and you get to somewhere undercover, you could just like take this out and wipe it. This has been caught in rain a few times and it's been fine. I don't see any like discoloration or staining from that. I've also had drinks spill on this, like a matcha latte or like some sort of coffee. That also hasn't caused any staining. I think if there was staining, it wouldn't probably show very much because of the color. And another reason I think is because this is Epsom. As I said when I was going through the specs, Epsom is a printed treated leather. So there is a coating of some sort on the top, and the grains are quite small compared to like a Clemence or a Togo, which means that the stains or like dirt or things like that won't show up as much, especially in a dark color, and will just kind of like slide right off. That I do is use a twilly to wrap the handles, and I can show you that a little bit later when we go over how I style the bag. Basically, this prevents like sweat or oils from your hands from touching the handles and like impacting the leather over time. I would say I don't do that all the time. I do it typically in the summer where I am wearing a lot of sunscreen. So sunscreen, especially on my arms, and I wear this on the crook of my arms. I don't really want sunscreen getting on the bag. In the winter, it's less of a problem because I'm not wearing sunscreen. And then a lot of times I also have gloves. So the gloves itself protects the handle, so my hand isn't directly touching the bag. In terms of the leather, I'm not seeing any discoloration. So the visible parts are all fine, and no visible scratches as well. I have heard that Epsom is difficult to repair if you do get scratches. I can't really speak to that because I've never sent it over for repair, so I don't know what that looks like. If I look at the corners, I'm also not really seeing any major scratching apart from one spot and right here. Otherwise, no visible marks on the leather. I'm also not seeing anything in the interior as well. For the hardware, there are micro scratches. When I got the bag, it did have some micro scratches on the sangles. And I would say some of them developed over time. Nothing too visible, doesn't really bother me. And then the feet also have some discoloration. Looks like maybe some of the coating rubbed off. And I'll say that I took off the plastic right away rather than keep them on. I know a lot of people keep the plastic stickers on the hardware for a little bit longer, especially on the feet. But to me, I knew that I was just gonna use this bag, so the wear and tear doesn't really concern me very much. Looking at the edge painting, I'm also not seeing any cracks in the edge painting. I do see some like minor discoloration and scuffs, not really visible to be honest. And that applies to pretty much all of the edge painting that's on this piece. The stitching and hot stamp also looks completely fine. There's no loose stitches, there's no scuffs or wear on the hot stamp. What I do see are some maybe imprints on the leather. So I'm not sure if you could see that right here. There's like a little bump on the leather, and then like it's like maybe it's getting a little bit softer and molding to the shape of things. So that bump right here corresponds to the zipper on the inner pocket. So I guess like over time, maybe that just like presses on it a little bit and stretches it out. You can see that there's like a softness to the leather. It's not like super structured, it's like a little bit more relaxed. With time, there's also a little bit of sagging. I'm not sure if you could see, but when I put this down, the sides and the corners are getting pretty close to the floor. So we've gotten to a point where the feet aren't actually protecting the corners anymore because the corners are touching. It's not a lot, but you could see a little bit of roundness right here on all four sides. Overall, I would say if you're somebody who likes a structured bag that's relatively low maintenance, Epsom seems to be a pretty good choice. But if you're someone who maybe wants a little bit more of like that slouchy, worn-in look, then I don't think Epsom is maybe the best choice, or else it's going to take a really long time for this to become a squishy, smushy Birkin. So the main ways I dress up my bag is with a twilly and some sort of charm. For twillies, there are two common ways to tie it. You could do it the classic way. So that's like lining the middle of your twilly up and then just wrap it all around and tie it at the ends. Once you get to the end, just like tuck it around like that. The tricky thing is like to get it even, you have to like fiddle with it. So this is actually not the preferred way I tie it. The other way I tie it is just one side. So instead of trying to measure where the middle is, you start on one end. So for me, let's say it's this end, and then you just kind of twist around, and then you tuck the end in as you wrap the handle and adjust as needed. And of course you could do the twilly on the front, on the back, or both. I also use softer charms, soft meaning like the material is pretty soft. For example, this one is a fabric lucky charm from a temple, and this one is a Pegasus. So this one is from Hermes. So I typically have a charm in the front, and you could add a second charm to the side. What I also like to do is put the charm on the side or on the back. So on the side, it looks like this. I know it's pretty low, but I think it's cute, like when you turn, it's kind of like flopping around, or I put it on the back. So you get a little bit more interest all around the bag rather than just have everything in the front. Let's move on to some mod shots. This is to give you a sense of how it looks on a particular frame. and give you ideas on maybe when or what occasions you might wear this for you. And of course, this is very personal and individual to your lifestyle. For context, I'm 5'3", and I personally wear this bag with either something with a small heel or a flat shoe, just because I feel that this bag is maybe more on the casual side, and maybe you could dress it up to like a business casual. To me, this is a good medium-sized bag. I think if I were to get a Birkin 35, it would be a little bit too wide. Okay, now I want to talk about practicality and safety with this bag. As you know, this is a expensive bag. It is now quite recognizable. So if you take a bag out like this, many people on the streets might be able to recognize it. I would say that that isn't really the case like 5 to 10 years ago. From a safety perspective, I still feel comfortable wearing this bag out in the city. I live in New York City in Manhattan, and I don't feel strange walking around with this bag or like super self-conscious. That said, I also don't go to neighborhoods where I feel like this would be an issue when I'm wearing this bag. New York City, compared to say like London, is still pretty safe in most places. So I don't feel like I get a lot of glances or looks or people following me when I'm wearing this bag. A few things that I do to be a little bit more low-key when I'm around the city is just flip the bag when you carry it. So instead of having all the hardware out, just have this side. This side will just kind of look like a basic bag. There's tons of bags that look pretty much like this. Another thing I do when I'm walking around, especially when it's a little bit chilly or cold outside, is to use a scarf. So this is a pretty long scarf. I wouldn't recommend it for like a Hermes scarf because there is a chance you might lose it or it might fall. But I typically just like loop it like this, and because it's quite long, I'm less concerned that it will fall. And it also covers the recognizable hardware, so it just kind of looks like a regular leather tote bag. You will also just tuck in your scarf and then thread it through the front. So you still get that coverage, but maybe a little bit more security on this side. I have traveled internationally with this bag before. I basically put this in my carry-on. So I would put stuff in it so that I'm still using the space, put this in a dust bag and put it in a carry-on roller luggage so that it's close to me and not in a checked bag. And I haven't really had any issues with that. In terms of practicality, I would say this is a pretty practical bag because of its size and durability. It is a more casual bag, so you can use it to run errands. I usually use it to go around town, maybe meet up with friends. It's relatively carefree in terms of like the material, so I also find that very practical for me. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around. I tried to be thorough with this, but feel free to let me know if there's anything I missed, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. If you like videos like this and would like to see more, it would really help me out to subscribe and like this video, maybe share it with a friend. I haven't been doing this a lot, so feel free to leave feedback as well, and also things that you would like to see from me in the future. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you back here on my channel.